Another economic statement, lots of money to be spent. And the Treasury wants to think of this as the second act of a kind of three-act saga. And let's just talk you through where we've come so far. So Act 1 was what we saw in the spring. I'm going to show you this kind of tower of money that was spent in the spring. Employment support, and that's the furlough scheme, business support for different companies around the country, household support, so welfare, and then you've got public services as well. Now, add all of that stuff up. Now, that's the stuff that was already spent back in March, and you're talking about £160 billion. And now we have this extra money. So the stimulus, Act 2, it's about £30 billion, up to £30 billion, according to the Chancellor. Now, take all of that in total, you're talking about £190 billion. It's even more than that when you're talking about overall borrowing. But look, that might look small, but £30 billion, any other budget would be considered enormous in terms of extra spending. So it's worth just taking that and stripping out where that money is actually going to go to. So different measures across the economy. And what I can do is split it up between different parts of the economy. So jobs, hospitality, housing and the furlough scheme. Those different segments taking us up and the ladder, the staircase to £30 billion. And let's just go through some of those schemes. So you've got kickstart scheme, apprentices, extra money for jobs. You've got hospitality, so the VAT holiday, that's about £4 billion in total. Now, there's a tiny sliver I've got there. That's the Eat Out to Help Out scheme, that voucher scheme. Actually very small in terms of the actual spending on it, but very eye-catching indeed. You've got infrastructure, green homes. The Prime Minister talked a lot about that, about £9 billion. And then that darker bit of that tower there, that's the stamp duty holiday, about £4 billion. That is going to be a real difference if you're planning to buy a home or indeed sell it in the coming 6 months. And then the furlough scheme. Now, this job retention bonus might well cost up to £9.4 billion, but that all depends on basically everyone who's furloughed at the moment coming back into work. In practice, it could be a lot smaller, but that would mean higher unemployment. And the Treasury says that when you look across the whole of the economy and split up different parts of the population by how much they earn, actually it is the bottom 10% who are the only segment, the only decile, who are seeing an increase as a result of all of what we're going through at the moment, including their interventions, whereas it is the top 10% who see the biggest impact on their incomes. All said, though, you are talking about a lot of people losing out. That, I'm afraid, is the impact of what happens when you have a recession.